All right, so let's give this a go here. Hopefully we get some decent internet.
Connect my,
Um, can you hear me okay?
is that working now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good.
All right, perfect, man. So while we got you, Kyle, how you doing, my man? Now that we got you on call.
I'm good. Dealing with everything, but it's getting better every day.
Yeah, have you been
Cool.
in touch with some of the boys in your class and with the guys on the team?
Yeah, we've talked almost every day, especially the senior class. We had a kid who used to make highlight videos for the team reached out to us and made us like a nice senior tribute video. It's up on Instagram. So we've been talking every day. Just kind of things get a little bit more lighthearted every single day as kind of everything around us gets a little bit more serious. The scope of the season gets a little bit less serious for us. So we've been able to kind of deal with it that way. But boys are good. Everybody's at home just hanging out, trying to figure out what summer plans are and job stuff. But
Yeah,
everything for my classes has gotten better day by day.
that's good, man. Is it tough to pivot from like, obviously the focus is on, just the season, everything you guys have worked for, and to pivot a little bit early to real world stuff? Has that transition been kind of tough?
Yeah, it's definitely been kind of tough for me. I don't even have a job lined up for the summer, so it's kind of been a I was focused on the season, and all of a sudden, just full 180 into trying to figure out fifth year eligibility stuff, into potentially just starting work in June or something like that. So definitely hit me a little bit earlier than I was expecting and hoping for, but a couple extra months to get ahead of it.
You want to talk a little bit about like the good stuff throughout your career? Like what's your experience at Penn been like as a student athlete?
It's honestly been better than I could have ever hoped for. Going in, I was kind of nervous about Division I lacrosse, how hard the work was going to be at an Ivy League school, and how demanding lacrosse was going to be. I'd never played lacrosse for 10 months year round. Then I got in, and I couldn't imagine anything different at this point. But going in, I was kind of nervous. The whole class dynamic and everything like that. You always hear that schools are like a family and stuff like that, but I didn't realize until, I mean, I stepped on campus and I immediately had 50 brothers like right by my side, and that only got better as the years went on. I honestly think that our culture has been a huge reason for why I've been so happy with my decision. I committed as a sophomore in high school playing for FLG, and kind of didn't think about it until I was going into my freshman year at Penn, and I couldn't have been happier with the decision I made.
Talk a little bit about like the culture on the team, because I feel like a lot of people are curious just about like the dynamic of some of the more successful college programs that are out there, and you got like a group of guys that are just like working so hard, all trying to accomplish sometimes like the same thing, but also having to balance it with school. Like how would you best describe the culture of the team? Factor in all those other things.
I think it really starts with everybody just becomes best friends immediately. The freshmen always come on campus and always talk about how they can't tell what class kids are in, like if kids are seniors, sophomores, juniors, just because of how like intermixed we are and how close we are as a team. We all live, so sophomores through seniors live off campus at Penn, so everybody's in their own houses. But any given day, you could walk into a house and there could be any group of guys in there.
Hmm.
In terms of school, we all help each other out. Most of the guys, so I was a political economy major. I would say probably 50% of the guys on the team are political science majors. Another 30% are in Wharton, and then the rest are just kind of mixed in between econ and anything else they like. We take a lot of classes together, so we have a mentor system. So coach assigns each incoming freshman a mentor the summer before. So it's typically a sophomore or junior, and they help them from anything for picking what dorm to live in to picking what classes to take. So you usually set them up with like one hard class. So you take like an econ your freshman fall, but then you have three kind of layups to help you get acclimated.
Hmm.
And coach does a great job with that stuff. We have study hall for the freshmen once a week,
Yeah.
so they get ready for it. But other than that, it's kind of a culture where kids in my class even joke that we don't even know what grade some kids are in just because of how mixed our entire classes are.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, like being able to go to college and feel like comfortable and get in a groove right away is so big, because like college is overwhelming. Like if you don't kind of understand how to like set yourself up for like success in the classroom, it kind of like it could pull you down in other areas of your
Definitely.
college experience. So that mentor program is a really cool idea. I remember putting when I was there, like we put together a whole list of classes that just like if you're taking it, like you're gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Your teammates will be there to help you, and like the teachers are really cool and stuff like that. But then there's other classes. It's like, listen, like depending on what you want to study, like you said, and like what you're getting into, you got to do really well in certain things, so that way you have a good foundation for doing
Mhm.
well in your major and whatnot. What was
Yeah.
like the lacrosse side of things like for you, like compared to maybe some of your buddies who you played with in high school or at FLG when you were younger? Would you say that like the lacrosse experience, you're working just as hard as maybe as some of the other guys that you knew growing up?
So with in terms of FLG and Shamna and stuff, I had a bunch of friends who went D3, D1, kind of a good mix of stuff. So I've got a good view on that. I think Ivy League with our restrictions in the off season makes it a little bit different than a lot of other schools. So we can only go. We have 2 hours of lacrosse a week and 6 hours of conditioning or film. So we would go Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and other schools like the Marylands, the ACCs of the world are going 5 days a week starting when you get on campus in August.
Hmm.
Um, so we always talk about in the beginning how we start out at a disadvantage, how we're already have less time with our coaches, less time as a team. So we put a huge emphasis, especially my junior year when we kind of flipped the switch on our whole program and had our great run. We put a huge emphasis on extra work. So we would have a mandatory extra lift run by the captains. And then just you could find guys out on Franklin Field or down at Penn Park any day of the week shooting, stuff like that. So that kind of helped us build that culture of always working, doing that extra stuff and building at our skill sets without our coaches. And I think once that hits the season, that stuff's still there. Like guys still want to get out on the field and shoot before practice, still want to hit the wall, still want to get an extra lift in. And when that's happening, even when we're going 6 days a week, that kind of just propelled everybody like top to bottom. It made everybody feel like they were working towards something and trying to get better. And I think that's especially last year, it's what kind of made the difference with us. I've talked to buddies at schools who are like Princeton, I think went like Thursday, Saturday, Sunday in the fall,
Hmm.
and they were like, "Oh, this is there are guys on the team who are not happy with that," and we were like, "We go Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We get out on the field Tuesdays and Thursdays with our buddies, and it's like having a great time. It's like you're playing summer lacrosse again on Tuesdays and Thursdays, just having fun with your friends, but you're really getting better."
Do you think there's like a mental edge in the Ivy League from the perspective of like, because maybe you're not being like forced into doing so much, there's that like internal like willingness and just like that excitement to anytime you get to do anything with your team, like you're just a little more eager and like enthusiastic to do that. Is that kind of like part of the culture, would you say?
I think that's definitely part of the culture, and I think that's why, like, you look at the across, like, you look at us, you look at Yale, you look at other schools like that. Like, we play a schedule that come February, like, we're playing top 5 teams right away,
Right.
and some other schools you kind of see that start where like they're not that excited. It doesn't seem like they're that excited to get into it.
Yeah.
I remember walking out against Maryland this year, and it was like you had held back kids, like you didn't let them play lacrosse for 6 months, and then all of a sudden they're let out on the field. Like
Yeah.
I completely agree that there's definitely a mental edge that comes with us not being able to do as much, and especially you don't really feel it that much in the fall, just because you're by the end of the fall, it's like kids want to kill each other because they can't you
Yeah.
can't get that physical with your teammates, and then you let us against you see it in fall ball. Like we scrimmaged Hopkins and Albany this year, and it was
Yeah.
like coach had to tell us to kind of rein it back a little bit because kids were just blowing kids up. Like they were just so excited to get after other kids. And
Yeah.
I think it's definitely you hear commentators and stuff talk about like the blue collar mentality and how these teams are gritty, and you see that in Ivy League play. Like we play each other, and it's like diving for ground balls, diving for end lines, stuff like that. Stuff that our defense kind of prided itself on the last 2 years of diving in front of shots and stuff like that. And
Sure.
it's definitely because we feel like teams are kind of underestimating us and not thinking that we're working as hard as them or think they have an edge because we haven't played as much as them.
Yeah.
But I think we work just as hard and we have probably a lot more fun than a lot of other schools.
Yeah, it's great. And it's coming from you, right? Like you're working that hard and you're enthusiastic because it's just what you guys want. And that I know that's something that Coach Murphy tries to bring out in you guys, not just as like athletes, but also as like leaders. So
Hmm.
I want to talk a little bit about the leadership on the team and kind of like what your role was as a leader for Penn Lacrosse.
So starting pretty early on my sophomore year, We had a relatively young defensive core with myself and Mark Ivanchik starting as two sophomores. I played a good amount as a freshman, but with a mainly senior led defense that year. And then as the years got on, the defense was led by myself and kids in my class. So we had Matt McKilrick, who's a short stick D midi, Mark Ivanchik, and we just kind of had to step up a little bit earlier than I think a lot of other teams expected kids to.
Mm-hmm.
So even from my FLG days, my strength as a defenseman was my communication and my stick. So like that was kind of something that I had always leaned on. So I found my voice a little bit earlier. As the years went on, it kind of just turned into, it was more of a cohesive unit. Like we were all buddies. We were all in the same grade basically, so we could talk about it. And then this year I was voted captain in October and November of my team. So it was myself and Adam Goldner who were the two captains. So that's kind of I had to adjust a little bit to that, having to find my voice and kind of being that assertive leader. I'd never really found that voice, trying to find like what's best for the team and figuring out those logistical decisions. But I think I learned my junior year that the best way to kind of help the leaders and stuff like that, the way we helped our senior class, is by being a great follower.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to kind of like find those guys who were younger than me who I knew trusted my voice, and I just echoed to them. I was like, yo, listen, I might get on you at practice today, but I just want you to know that I'm going to do it so you respond the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And you can show people that way. So the way I tried to kind of find my leadership voice was finding those guys who I knew were going to be able to follow me, and that kind of sets that first base, and then that trickles down from there. I think going into our season, it's a little bit tougher because you, as a captain with myself and Adam, we kind of had to find a way to get guys pumped up before games.
Mm-hmm.
And before games, I kind of always used to like to isolate myself. I would be the first guy in the training room, first guy out of the training room, and then I would go out on the field for a while. And I kind of figured I could do that this year. And then I realized that guys kind of need to like feel my presence, stuff like that, especially like the younger guys who've never been there.
Mm-hmm.
So as a leader, you kind of got to find a way to switch up your game day routine to make sure that you're in the best spot for you to play, but also that the rest of your guys are ready to go.
Yeah, it's definitely, you got to come out of your comfort zone in other ways. I think that's just a really good example of how you did that to do not just within the best interest of your play, which needs to be buttoned up obviously and perfect so you can lead, but it's best for everyone else, which is great. Mm-hmm. Now, since we got about 2 minutes here, let's look ahead a little bit. Like, how do you plan on kind of staying connected to the program? You can just talk generally too, just how, people who kind of move through Penn Lacrosse, what they do to support the, the program, and, what kind of excites you about that next phase? You've thought
so we always talk about just that whole thing, the brotherhood of Penn Lacrosse. And it was kind of, I knew it was there my freshman and sophomore year. I talked to alumni, guys were pumped to come back. And then we actually had our official and unofficial recruits down, and I was on a panel, and somebody asked me what was the best part of last season. And I told them, I was like, look, it would be easy for me to say like 8-0 Ivy League champions, stuff like that. But I remember being on the field after we lost in the quarterfinals to Yale in overtime, and we had probably 100 alumni behind us, directly behind our bench, just like